Hey guys, welcome to the daily analysis for today. It's Monday, January 7th, and it is actually the first trading Monday of 2013, and so really the kickoff to the first full week of trading for the new year. And so far, in just a few days of trading, I already think that the 2013 market conditions are off to a great start, which I'm extremely excited about. And of course, I want to take advantage of and want to help you take advantage of. And so obviously today's analysis is going to be focusing on some of those market conditions and where I think there are some areas to take advantage of and make some profitable trades. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into. Before we jump into that, let's take a look at our news coming up. Alright guys, you can see that Tuesday, tomorrow's news is very light. The one timed announcement is 7:30 p.m. That's Australian dollar retail sales. Other than that, a few minor events, and it's pretty much calm. So what that tends to mean is that most price action and technical signals have high probability of continuation in the direction of that technical signal because there's not a lot of fundamental interference. Alright, so that should be good for us as we focus on some of these technical signs that we're about to get into. Let's jump into that right after we cover our term. Okay guys, and as you probably already know, the terms basically just say that we're not licensed or qualified to provide investment advice, and the daily analysis is purely an educational benefit for our subscribers. So please do go ahead and read through these and make sure that you understand all of the terms that are associated with our analysis. And back onto our charts, you can see the Euro Dollar Daily is the first chart I have up, and it's about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we're about an hour until the close of these daily bars on this particular platform. Obviously, the euro bouncing nicely, basically across the board. You can see a great bounce here on the euro dollar as well. Two push bars or tail bars or pin bars, whatever you want to call them, moving up nicely, coming back into our major resistance area around 131. One thing I want to draw your attention to on the euro dollar is I have this kind of channel drawn here. And what I kind of notice as looking back through these charts is that over the past 6 months, this reversal started happening in July. So over the past 6 months, you can see that the euro dollar has actually been very consistent outside of this one few month period where it bumped above this area and channeled for a little while and then came right back in. This breakout happened like in the beginning of September and broke back in toward the end of October. So less than 2 months was a slight channel above this range. But outside of that, you can see that this channel has been very consistent. Now, it hasn't always, came and touched the top or the bottom, but price has ranged on this kind of plane upward very consistently for the better part of the last 6 months. And so to me, that means that a move again off the bottom of this channel pushing up is a pretty high probability move. Now, of course, there is this level which we want to pay attention to around 131. Definitely a resistance area where price can struggle, but overall, I find the probability of the euro dollar moving toward higher highs, a pretty high probability setup, considering how consistent this move has been in the past 6 months. And that's not to say that price cannot reverse and start heading down at any period of time. Of course, that's definitely possible, but just from a technical standpoint and looking at the consistency of the market in the past 6 months, I'm looking at any buy possibilities as pretty high probability setups for continuation, especially because the euro is really bouncing across the board and showing nice strength. Okay, so that's the euro dollar. I'll move over to the pound as well, and we'll cover a couple other euro crosses. But the euro dollar definitely making a nice consistent movement. Again, you do look at these few months where it bounced outside and channeled. But other than that, and really even including that, there's been a pretty nice wave of bullishness over the past 6 months in the euro dollar. Alright, and you can see that the pound dollar also moving up, not quite as consistent, as the euro, but definitely a great bounce right now. We kind of have this double tail bar or pin bar pushing up off of a pretty significant level here, which is basically exactly at 1.6. I mean, it's maybe 1.602, but pretty much right exactly at 1.6, and definitely pushing back up towards our major level at 163, 162.9 to be exact, on the pound dollar. So definitely a good bounce. Any longs here would have a good target, a good magnet for price in this range. So certainly a nice price action setup there on the pound. And now that we looked at the euro and the pound against the dollar, of course, I like to look at the euro pound and kind of see the comparison. It's no secret that the euro has been basically beating up on the pound since July, which is the same time that the euro really turned against the dollar. So kind of what happened here is that the euro dollar and the pound dollar were heading down pretty consistently. And when they begin to reverse, when the euro and the pound begin to make up ground back against the dollar, for some reason or another, the euro really took a lot more strength in that reversal back to the upside. And so what that resulted in was not only an uptrend on the euro dollar, but also an uptrend on the euro pound starting to form toward the end of July, and a pretty consistent move. Now, you can see that I've kind of hugged in the trend line here. It kind of goes through some of these candles to make it fit, and that's typically what I do. As price continues, I make my trend line fit toward recent prices because I want it to be as accurate as possible for the most recent price. So I definitely consider this a trend line bounce, even though my trend line does cut through some areas of price. Now, it's up to you. Some people would say that the correct way to draw a trend line would be to grab the very bottom of price, so the trend line would look more like this, and that this would not touch the current trend line. And that is definitely up for debate and depends on your particular status of how you like to draw trend lines. I personally like to draw my trend lines to fit current price and actually use current price then to drag back toward historic price, which means that mine looks like it does here, where I allow my price to touch the current trend line. And the reason for that is simple, because I don't want to miss trend continuations just based on a technicality. So I consider this a trend continuation, and I don't want to miss it just based on a technicality of these trend line drawing principles. So that's just my little blurb on that. But anyway, this moving nicely today came all the way down, almost retesting the close, or excuse me, I'm sorry, the open of Friday's daily bar, and then continuing up. Now, we don't have great continuation on this bar yet. It's not closing at the highest point, but we do have an hour to see if there is any more continuation. Nonetheless, even with not the strongest close in the world, I still think this is a great pin pushing price higher, and I am thinking that this 82.20 area or the previous high is still a legitimate target for the euro pound to continue toward, barring any major reversal, news or anything in the market. So that's what I'm looking at on the euro pound. Again, I think this is a great trend and a great trend continuation, and if this continues at this pace, I'm thinking that there's going to be more euro pound buy signals to come in the future, not just the current one that we're looking at now. Alright, the US yen did stall and start heading slightly to the downside today. I'm not ready to call it a total reversal and tell everyone to jump on short, but this is a very major level here around 88, and we're seeing some bearishness. Now, you can see that there's been slight bearishness in the past, and obviously didn't do much. So again, I'm not saying put all your money short on the US yen by any stretch. But this does two things. Number one, it gives us the opportunity for a reversal that maybe we could get on and ride a reversal, a sharp reversal down. But also, of course, it gives us a chance to get back on long if the trend's continuing. So either way, really, in my opinion, a good opportunity on the US yen, and that is one just to wait and see how price develops and look to take advantage of. Alright, another one here is the AUD, which is still testing this trend line. This is one I've talked about for a while, some potential for bearishness, but not really a big move yet. Now, we did have this inside bar here, was pushing down, and I thought, okay, there's some potential here for a bounce. I actually did go short and took a small profit on the continuation here of this little tail before it reversed right back up. So a short profit that I got there and was glad to get out. Now, we'll see if there's some more potential later on, but right now it's looking like it's actually looking to break, especially with some of the US dollar weakness that we're seeing across the market. Speaking of which, I took a short here and didn't get a lot of profit, but a lot of people, will say, Nathan, you do the analysis, but we don't actually know what trades you're taking. One thing I do want to do, guys, is to be a little more consistent with posting the trades that I'm actually taking to Twitter. So I'm going to put my Twitter handle below, and if you use Twitter, or even if you don't, you want to start a Twitter to follow and see some of the trades that I'm taking, please do follow me on Twitter. I'm not promising that I'm going to update every trade. I have a lot going on, and to be honest, I just forget a lot. But I do want to be a little more consistent. The Euro Pound Long is one that I posted to Twitter. So use that link, follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to be more consistent in posting these trades and some of the targets that I'm looking for. The odd dollar, again, was one that I posted, or excuse me, that I didn't post, but I should have, with a short target. And I'll try to do that more consistently so that you're not only getting my analysis, but actually some of my current trades, okay? So follow me on Twitter, and if I'm not posting trades, one thing you can always do is mention me on Twitter and say, hey, post some trades, and I'll do that, so it can be a mutually beneficial relationship for us to be connected on Twitter. And so I'll put that link below, and feel free to follow me on Twitter. And again, I'm going to try to be more consistent and more regular in posting some of my actual trades, like for instance the odd would be one of them. Okay. And speaking of trades, the USDCAD is another trade that I'm still stalking, both long and short potential here, as I mentioned. And it's just not developing yet. I want to look for an opportunity for the USDCAD if there's a major shift in the strength of one or the other, because obviously any shift is a good trade potential, and if it breaks lower, it's a great bearish potential, all the way down to a previous low and maybe even lower. And of course, if it finally breaks to the upside all the way through this area, we're talking about a pretty important break and the potential for it to head all the way up to 103, 104, or maybe even higher there. So either way, a lot of potential in the USD CAD, and it's one I want to take advantage of. But again, it's a waiting game because it's just sitting still and not making a lot of ground, currently right below 99. So that's another one that's just a waiting game, and if it does develop, could be a great trade opportunity. Okay, and the EURUSD is the last one I want to cover. Friday I talked about this trend line, moving up, not a massive trend line by any means, but certainly some potential for it to move higher, because this is a pretty significant reversal in the market since this period in August. So we did get a relatively nice bounce with a tail bar or a pin bar pushing up off this trend line area and looking toward higher highs. And again, one thing that's not the most positive situation is that we didn't make a new high the last push. This is actually a slightly downward moving area. But that doesn't mean that this can at least pop back into that trend line area or break and make our newer high this time and solidify this upward trend area. So some medium potential here if you consider topping out here, or some very large potential if you consider the fact that this could very well make a higher high. And so the EURUSD is another one that I do not want to ignore. Along that note, I want to be clear in saying that there's a lot of euro bullishness, and I would never suggest taking a euro long across every every one of these currencies. A euro dollar long, euro pound long, euro odd long, euro CAD long, euro CAD long. I don't want you to take, or I wouldn't suggest you taking a euro long against every currency. That just doubles and triples and quadruples your risk. But at the same time, I don't want to ignore covering multiple euro pairs and showing you multiple different setups. So my advice, my personal, the way I look at trading is, the euro may be moving up and there may be multiple areas, but what I want to do is position it against the best possible currency, not against every currency. I will give you my take on the euro pound, and that is that I think that the euro pound is kind of an exception. I don't particularly believe that taking a euro odd long, for instance, and a euro pound long is doubling your risk, because the euro pound, they run together, and the euro odd can be going up, the euro dollar can be going up, the euro CAD can be going up, the euro Swiss can be going up, the euro yen can be going up, while the euro pound is essentially crashing, because the significance that the euro and the pound are very similar and they fluctuate against one another kind of in their own realm. There's not really much of a correlation between the euro pound and many of the other euro pairs. Now, lately, because the euro pound has been going up, you can see some correlation, but I still wouldn't necessarily classify them as a major correlating pair, which means that I would be willing to take a euro pound long and another euro long, even though in most cases I wouldn't consider doubling up my risk on euro. So I know that's kind of a complicated little issue there, and if you want me to maybe focus more about that and maybe even do a separate article totally on that, just leave a comment below and I'll get more into that for those of you that are interested. But that's just my little bit on the euro or on any currency, and doubling or tripling your risk. I obviously would not advise that. Okay, so guys, that is my analysis for today, for our first Monday, our first kickoff of a full week of trading in the year 2013. And again, I'm really excited about these market conditions and the way they're shaping up already. I think that 2013 is going to be an extremely great trading year. I think it's going to be Winner's Edge Trading's best, most profitable year yet, and I'm very excited about it, and I hope that you guys are along for the ride. Okay, so again, follow me on Twitter below, and while you're at it, if you wouldn't mind tweeting and sharing our daily analysis for today, I'll greatly appreciate that as well. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great day. Enjoy your Monday, and I look forward to a great week of trading.